Hi guys, here today to do a reading for William. Basically, William has asked for a reading uh, about it's another spiritual progress type of reading. William, you asked basically you had been sensing sort of, I guess subconsciously, some sort of block that had represented itself in your dreams and I guess through some other things that you've experienced lately, and you wanted to know essentially what the nature of that block to your spiritual progress was, and essentially if it's what it is, more or less. So I've already shuffled the cards. Today I'm going to be using, again, in my effort to use the decks that I have spent money on, uh, I am going to be using today the Illuminati Tarot again. Hope that's okay. And we are going to do a Celtic for you today. So I've already picked the significator, already shuffled, and we'll see what we've got. So right away, your overall situation is death. Crossing you is the the King of Wands. Crowning you is the Nine of Swords, and grounding you is the Seven of Pentacles. Okay. In the past, you have the Three of Cups, and in the future, you have Judgment. So already, you might be able to tell that that's a very heavy reading so far. Your perspective is the Eight of Swords. Exterior factors are the Five of Cups, hopes and fears represented by the Two of Wands, and last but not least, your overall outcome is the Empress. So again, this is always tricky for me to fit everything in the picture here, but I will do my best to make sure you can kind of see everything. And then bottom card, as you guys know by now, I read the bottom card. Bottom card is mainly the Five of Pentacles, and then there's some other stuff underneath, which we will probably get into. The Five of Pentacles is on the bottom. Okay, Will. I hope you don't mind I call you Will. I don't know which you prefer, but anywho, overall, I think that what I see is your spiritual progress has come to a point where you are starting to either. I get the sense that you're having to go through sort of the putrefaction phase of things currently, which is never pretty. As they say in the texts about this stuff. I think that since this reading has a spiritual bent, um, I think death may be telling you that you are going through the process of losing the unnecessary vestiges of your personality or something like that. You are going through some process of loss here. And I think that the process of loss is echoing not only in necessarily your spiritual life, but I think it is having implications in your exterior, in your everyday life as well, because of you have the Five of Cups here in your environment, and that is closely connected here to death. And I don't know if in some ways that is in turn connected to the Three of Cups in your past, which tells me that there was more joy originally in this process. And, that is in some ways something that you have let go of as well. And it's almost like you have turned away from a more um, pleasure-oriented perspective and focused more on a hard work type of perspective, because I see this shift going from the Three of Cups, which is more pleasure focused, to the Seven of Pentacles, which is the basis of this situation, which tells me that this is something that you've put a lot of work into, and it's something that you've really dedicated yourself to for a long period of time. There have been a lot of ups and downs with it, but for the most part, you've really stuck with it, and you have a lot of determination, I think, to get it right. Now, excuse me. Sorry, I'm all gross today. Um, Crossing you, however, is the King of Pentacles. And I think in this case, the King of Pentacles being Fire. I see the King of Pentacles as related to Judgment here in your um, upcoming influence card, and in turn connected to the Two of Wands. Your reading is sort of linear in a sense. Air being separate, we'll get there. I mean, I jump around too much, I'm sorry. But I think crossing you, the King of Wands, is telling me that some aspect of your spiritual personality is in fact being blocked. And I think I almost get the sense that it is because you have not quite yet resurrected the what is left of value from that process of putrefaction. You know what I'm saying? I think that through the process of letting go of things that are no longer of value to us or to our progress as people, um, I think we have to understand that most of the time there are still aspects of those things that we have gotten rid of that are still connected to us in some way, because all of our experiences in life really are reflections and lessons about who we are as individuals. And so there is always some grain of truth contained, I think, in even the bleakest of situations. And I think it's saying that you have not yet really discovered or rediscovered that which was of value in that which you have sacrificed, if that makes sense. Because again, I think that I almost get the feeling that you have sort of really limited yourself to an extent. You seem very mentally blocked right now. You personally see yourself as the Eight of Swords, which tells me right away that you feel like you don't quite know what to do anymore, that you're very stuck mentally. And that your crowning card is also the Nine of Swords, and this, in this position, in this situation, and in this case, is a little worrisome for me. I I kind of want to say that you have a lot of Mars in your reading. And I don't know that Mars is really the best type of energy right now. I almost get the sense that you're trying a little too hard in a way, that you're trying to I just give up things that you think are no longer necessary, but in doing that you are blocking yourself more. That's the impression that I get, because you have very serious energy in this reading. You have Saturn here. Saturn vaguely referenced in Death, just because Crowley talks a lot about how the skeleton in Death is a representation of Saturn, and that aspect of putrefaction. Of course, there are other reasons why Death is associated with Saturn, because of Bina and all this stuff. But Death is sort of Saturn-y, but Death is also Mars here, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and the Nine of Swords is Mars in Gemini, the Five of Cups is Mars in Scorpio, and the Two of Wands is Mars in Aries. So you have an incredible amount of Mars. And then in the past you have Venus. So it's like you have you've given up this pleasurable aspect of Venus, and have focused so hard on the work aspect, and you've devoted a lot of energy into this. And I almost feel like in sucking out the joy of things, you have sort of dampened your spirit to an extent. And I think it's trying to tell you, I think part of it is because you are looking for empowerment, with the Two of Wands. Two of Wands tells me that that's what your goal is. And I think that you feel like you're going to become stronger if you get rid of all this stuff. And I think that that's not necessarily the case. I think in actuality that the best that can possibly do for you is actually cause you more stress. Because Mars here is connecting strongly to the Nine of Swords. And so the Nine of Swords is not so much here an advice card. I don't think that the Nine of Swords is advising you to stress about all of this, to continue being paralyzed by your thought process. I think it's trying to tell you that the best that can possibly come of this, if you continue to pursue this sort of quest for power, I think that's going to continue to get you stuck. That you yourself are really what is what is blocking you. You know, I think it's a little bit to do with your ambition and a little bit of your seriousness about all of this. And I think, you know, we have to remember too that that the spiritual journey is not always so serious. I think that's the whole point of the metaphor of the fool's journey in tarot, is we have to remember that it isn't as serious as it's often made out to be. Let's see here. So I think, you know, I do think that you are going to begin to experience more of a resurrection here in the, with Judgment coming into your future. I do think that, you know, this is not unfixable, and I do think that you're about to experience some further progress that you've been sort of stuck with, or stuck on. And I do think that this is going to release some of this energy that has been blocked. You know, the King of Wands can represent a number of things here. It could conceivably represent your HGA if you have been working with that being at all, or that aspect of your personality, whatever you want to call it. God knows what it actually is. But if you've been dealing with that, you know, the King of Wands could be representative of that. But I think, you know, I almost see the King of Wands too as being the part of you that is ambitious and just a little forceful in this regard. And I think that I just get the sense that that is what's causing you problems. I think Judgment is a very positive turnaround for you that's going to come up. And I do think that you're going to start reevaluating the things that you've let go of, reevaluating your process, where you've come from and who you are now. And I think that's very important with Judgment, is really trying to see the big picture and trying to draw rational conclusions about your truth, you know, from that process. I think it's really important to reflect on that. And I do think that that goes into Judgment, you know. Now, excuse me. Let's see. You have very little earth. Well, you have some earth. I think, you know, you have earth in the Seven of Pentacles, and you have the earth in your overall outcome. And my impression of your overall outcome in the Empress, I think this reading is fairly cut and dry, really. The Empress, I think, is telling you that you are eventually going to need to reclaim that whatever it is that you used to be happy about with all of this. You know, I think you have to try to reclaim that and rediscover that for yourself in order to progress even further. I think that you need to tap into that energy a little bit more. And I think that you can remain focused and remain on the right path if you still keep in mind what it is that actually makes you happy about all this stuff. Or whatever it is, whatever this is representative over here of. And it could even be, you know, something a little more mundane, as it could be, you know, something that you used to do that gave you pleasure, that you got rid of because you thought it was distracting you, or something like that. But I just think that, you know, your devotion to this process, I think it's important for you to take a little bit of a step back and take a break. It's always good to take a break from this, and I don't know that it has to be constant all the time, and maybe that's just who you are, and maybe that's how you work better. But I think as a Gemini, that I don't know that that's entire. I don't know the rest of your chart, but guessing from Gemini, I don't know that that's really best for you. I think you have to learn how to navigate both. To navigate the hard work end of this with also the pleasurable end of it, because it should be pleasurable. Um, and right now, there's just this huge lack of foundation here. Um, and that's what's evident on the bottom of your deck. Bottom of your deck is the Five of Pentacles, because it's the one thing we haven't really talked about. And that is connected, of course, to the Empress and the Seven of Pentacles. It is also connected to anything else? Yes, it is also actually connected to... Oh my gosh, I have been reading Three of Cups totally incorrectly. Three of Cups is actually Mercury in Cancer. It is not Venus in Cancer. But either way, I still think that it is applicable in the way that I've read it. I still think that it makes sense, the way that I've interpreted it. But either way, I do think that that is greatly missing here, and that by cutting out that element of this process, you have destabilized yourself. And if you don't have a firm foundation to work from, then it becomes much easier for you to topple over. The parable that Jesus had about building on a firm foundation instead of sand and all that, is actually a really good a good parable, and I think is very very accurate in saying how we have to go about this. Now, beneath the Five of Pentacles, to give you a little bit of more info here as to why I am interpreting all of this the way I am. Beneath Five of Pentacles, you have the Devil, and you have the Five of Wands. And beneath that, you have the Hanged Man. So I think part of the stagnancy you are experiencing is really your own frustration with yourself. And I think you are very ambitious about all of this, and you're coming across as a little power hungry from it. And I think that if you are doing it for power and not doing it simply for the personal satisfaction of living life in the spirit, then you are not doing it for the right reasons. And I think it's as simple as that. I think you have to try to shift your perspective here, away from trying to empower yourself. I think you see yourself as kind of trapped in general, and that this maybe is a way for you to empower yourself to escape beyond that. But I think in reality, all you're doing is trapping yourself further by holding on to whatever your assumptions, presumptions of what the definition of power for you is. I think you need to move beyond that and realize that power really extends beyond whatever definition you have closed off for it. And I think that's also what Judgment is saying. Judgment is really, for me, the card of the Holy Spirit, of that spiritual energy in life that breaks us out of our single-mindedness. And I think that it's a revisionary energy. And I think that, this is part of that process. I think that really is the next step for you here, is revising some of your thinking, because your thinking really is, I think, the heart of what's blocking you here. I think that if you can address that successfully, you'll have a lot more success than you've already had. I think that you just need to give it a little more time. You do need to be patient with yourself, and a little more Dionysian and a little less Apollonian, to be honest. I think that that's kind of what we're getting at. A little, let's see, who would I say? Maybe a little more Nietzsche, a little less Kant, and a little more Crowley, a little less Waite. To put it like that. I think you just need to be happier about it and try to seek out that happiness more. that's really all I've got, and I think it's fairly self-explanatory. I hope that that makes sense. You know, and if it doesn't, please let me know. Excuse me, sorry. And that's about it. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope this answers your question. Um, and yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think. All right. So thank you very much, as always, and wish you the best with this and keep you in my thoughts and all that. All right. Thank you very much, and best of luck. Bye.